Good morning and welcome to our Sunday worship service here at First Parish in Framingham. My name is Maggie Dabrush, and in addition to being part of the Worship and Arts Committee, I am honored to be the worship assistant this morning. Whether this is your first time joining First Parish for worship, or you have been a member for decades, you are welcome here. First Parish in Framingham is a welcoming congregation. We celebrate people of all sexual orientations, races, genders, ages, abilities, or beliefs. Whomever you are, wherever you come from, whomever you love, wherever you are on the path of your spiritual journey, or discovering or refining your thoughts and beliefs, whatever device you are watching this on, you are welcome here. Thank you for inviting this spiritual community into your home this Sunday morning. We are honored to welcome Lee Kynvi to our pulpit this morning. Labor Day, Monday, 1995. Lee Kynvi had just moved to Framingham from Oregon and was riding their bike around town. They'd never seen a town green before or a charming New England church perched on the edge of it. Lee had also never heard of Unitarian Universalism, but as an LGBT and AIDS activist, noticed the church's rainbow flag and decided to return the following Sunday to see what a church with a rainbow flag was all about. The Reverend Dr. Patrick O'Neill was preaching that in-gathering Sunday, and Lee recalls having something of a UU conversion experience, sobbing for the entire hour, every Sunday for over a month. Lee worked for 24 years as a music therapist and licensed mental health counselor, the last 13 full-time in hospice. They have 2 children and are in their 3rd year of part-time study at the UU Seminary Star King School for the Ministry. Starting a week from tomorrow and continuing for 2 years, Lee will be a congregational intern at First Parish Church of Groton, Reverend Aaron's old stomping grounds. So once again, we are grateful for guest ministers like Lee who allow us the opportunity to experience wider parts of our denomination, while at the same time giving our own minister a much-deserved Sunday off. Immediately following the service, there will be a Zoom coffee hour. The sign-in information will be shown on the final screen.
Every time I feel this way, this old familiar sinking, I will lay my troubles down by the water, where the river will never run dry. Hallelujah. I'm gonna let myself be lifted. Hallelujah. I'm gonna let myself be lifted. Hallelujah. I'm gonna let myself be lifted. By and by, I will lay my troubles down by the water, where the river will never run dry. It's been said, and I do believe, as you ask, so shall you receive. So take from me these troubles, bring me sweet release, where the river will never run dry. Hallelujah. Myself be lifted. Hallelujah. I'm gonna let myself be lifted. Hallelujah. I'm gonna let myself be lifted. By and by, I will lay my troubles down by the water, water, where the river will never run dry. It's been said, and I do believe, as you ask, so shall you receive. So take from me these troubles, bring me sweet release, where the river will never run dry. There is a river in this heart of hearts, with the knowingness of my highest good. I am willing, I will do my part, where the river will never run dry. Hallelujah. I'm gonna let myself be lifted. Hallelujah. I'm gonna let myself be lifted. Hallelujah. I'm gonna let myself be lifted. By and by, I will lay my troubles down by the water, where the river will never run dry. This river will never run dry. This river will never run dry.
Hallelujah. May we let ourselves be lifted. I'm Lee Kynvi. I use they, them pronouns, and I'm really happy to be with you this morning. We arrive post-insurrection, post-impeachment, post-inauguration, and maybe a teeny bit post-traumatization. For some of us, branches of our rivers may indeed have run dry. And usually it's after, as we begin to unknit our innards and unknot our shoulders and breathe again, that we're finally able to feel all that we have been carrying and holding. It might hurt, beloveds, when relief finally begins to trickle into those areas of the riverbed that have been bone dry. The rocks might feel jagged and sharp when they meet up again with your sweet release. Breathe into it. We are here together. We could be lots of other virtual places doing lots of other virtual things, but we are here. Some on Sunday morning, some in the afternoon, some another day entirely, but all y'all count in the we who are here. We, hurting humans, making our way in a world hell-bent on selling us so much division, so much derision, it's downright dumbfounding. The good news is we don't have to buy it. We can just roll on by, settle down in our seats at our screens, and join in the creation of sacred space from thin air. Join in the creation of community for the long haul. Join in letting ourselves be lifted. Alleluia. Come, let us worship together.
During these times of physical distancing, it is important that we have rituals we do together that bind us together. As the chalice is lit in our sanctuary, and as the children of our congregation light their chalice, you are invited to light a candle in your home. After you have lit the candle, feel free to type in the chat box, "The chalice is lit in our home."
From all that dwell below the skies, birds sons of hope and faith arise. Let peace, goodwill on earth be sung, through every land, by every tongue.
Love is the doctrine of our church. The quest of truth is its sacrament, and service is its prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge and freedom, to serve all life with compassion, to the end that all souls shall grow into harmony with the divine. This is our great covenant, one with another and with our God.
A bicycle has two wheels. Bilingual is speaking two languages. Biweekly, 2 times a week. Binary, in the math and digital world, is a number system that uses 2 symbols, usually 0 and 1. A binary is also just anything that involves 2 things. This culture and society have made up a system called the gender binary. And this system says that sex, our biological makeup of chromosomes and body parts and hormones and gene expression that we're all born with, is binary. 2 choices. Spoiler alert, that's not true. And therefore, gender is also binary. 2 choices. Girl or boy. Female or male. Woman or man. Feminine or masculine. So gender is actually all about roles and behaviors and expressions and identities and how we feel inside and how we act and interact and how we dress and move and what people expect of us and 1,000 other things. So this gender binary system says that there are 2 genders and they're separate. They're very separate. They're disconnected, right? There's no overlap between them. And there's no other options, just these 2. So you are supposed to be in one box or the other. I am supposed to be in one box or the other. And it's pretty amazing how intense people get about this whole thing. I mean, some folks sort of police and enforce this whole system by making fun of people and a million ways, just to make sure that the tape stays on these boxes and they stay sealed shut. But why? Why is it so important? Because the system, this system, is designed to maintain the power of the people who fit in one of the boxes over the people who fit in the other box. Right. That's how that works. Systems of power over require division, separation. Think about race. Same divisions are necessary. Systems of power over have to have clear divisions so we know who has the power. It wouldn't work if we didn't know who had the power. This gender binary system that oppresses trans and queer people oppresses all of us. None of us are free. We're all diminished by this oppressive system, just like we are all diminished by white supremacy culture. So if you belong to this fabulous generation called Gen Z, born in or after 1997, and you were raised in a Western culture, then you grew up with smartphones and tablets, and you have been exposed to a huge range of different people, including people of genders that don't fit in these boxes. Your whole life, basically. And exposure leads to openness, leads to more possibility in how we experience ourselves and other people. And you all are leaders in this. In general, you are a wonderfully curious generation, and I love that so much. 80% of Gen Z believes that gender does not define a person. 56% of you Zoomers know someone personally who uses gender-neutral pronouns like they, them. 70% of you Zoomers feel strongly that gender-neutral bathrooms should always be available. Gen Z tends to experience people and not labels, and you are the future. So stay curious. You're the ones with the scissors. You're the ones asking, why do we need this wrapping? Why blue? Why pink? What is this? Why are these boxes all shut and wrapped up so tight? I personally owe you so much. I would not know what I know about my own non-binary gender identity if it were not for you, Zoomers. You have my eternal gratitude, and I will show up for you. You are my best current hope for our future. And I hope that you will insist that all the genders are available to all of us.
Tapestry of a community, we each bring our joys and our sorrows and our milestones, our happy and sad occasions. We know that joy shared is joy expanded, and sorrow shared can feel as though someone is lifting our burden. There will be prompts on the screen that will give better order to our sharing. Feel free to type those things that you are carrying into the chat box. In this virtual space, please remember that privacy cannot be guaranteed. So feel free to get in touch with the minister if there is something too tender to share.
Comfort me, comfort me, comfort me, oh my soul. Comfort me, comfort me, comfort me, oh my soul. Sing with me, sing with me, sing with me, oh my soul. Sing with me, sing with me, sing with me, oh my soul. Stay with me, stay with me, stay with me, oh my soul. Stay with me, stay with me, stay with me, oh my soul. Dance with me, dance with me, dance with me, oh my soul. Dance with me, dance dance with me, oh my soul. Comfort me, comfort me, comfort me, oh my soul. Comfort me, comfort me, comfort me, oh my soul.
This prayer is by Courtney Martin, who wrote it for the inauguration of President Joe Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris. It's used here with her permission. May the transition be peaceful and joyful. May we breathe easier, but never take that breath for granted. May we strive not for the simple relief of moving on, but the complex liberation of accountability. May we honor one another's grief, personal and political, the ebb and flows. May we shed our notions of exceptionalism and wear our humility permanently. May we not forget how fragile our democracy is. May we work to make it hardier against depraved egos and twisted manipulation. May we turn our sacred attention toward all that has been neglected these 4 years. May we tell a more accurate story of America forevermore. May we seize the opportunity to redesign our broken and unjust system. And may we, even in the absence of a villain, especially in the absence of a villain, fight like hell for the country of our dreams. Amen.
The ongoing work of this congregation in these walls and beyond them depends on your generosity, your support, the free and generous support of each and every member and friend of this community is what fuels this community and its mission. And without your support, the flame of justice, community, and love cannot burn brightly to warm ourselves and be a beacon in a world still full of division and fear.
The last time I was in the pulpit at First Parish Framingham was March 8th, 2020, the Sunday before the Ides of March, when everything fell apart and changed. Our last in-person service, our last paper order of service. A few weeks after everything in Massachusetts fell apart, I fell apart too. Fell apart in the way that Eat, Pray, Love author Liz Gilbert would call a bathroom floor moment, and others might call a dark night of the soul. And probably because one of my grandfathers was a blacksmith, I might call a forging in the fire. Also, my forging wasn't a moment or a night. It was about 3 months. I was able to function for the bare minimum that had to be done most of the time. And the rest of the time, I could barely manage staying in my skin. In fact, if my skin had been able to offer me an actual choice in the matter, I might have gone ahead and ditched it. I felt like my spirit was melting down in that fire, moving through unrecognizable stages. And I had no way of knowing in the middle of it what in the world was going on. How I could be so suddenly a total disaster, curled up in a pandemic ball, hiding under the covers. Everything had conspired to make me slow down, and there was nowhere I could go except into the fire of the pain that I was in. And it was pretty clear that change of some sort was coming. And when it becomes clear that change is coming, the hard work is not protecting, but opening to it. Sometimes not knowing, even in the middle, what it's about. Loosening and breathing and opening and feeling. It's so hard and it's so important, because in the change, in the midst of it, is all the potential and all the possibility. In the middle of the changing, of the burning, of the forging, is all the potential and all the possibility. Have you gone through something like that? Maybe a discovery about yourself, about what you want for your future, or who you actually are. I can point to a whole bunch of those moments in my life, some more dramatic than others. Last year turned out to be in part about coming to understand that in terms of gender, I just don't fit in those tightly sealed boxes. That I never have. My dad used to love to tell the story about bringing, tiny baby me, dressed girly, to church or the store. And you know how people love to see the baby. And he said so often they'd lean down and they'd say, "Oh, he's going to be a strapping football player, isn't he?" I mean, even as an infant, there was something about me that just didn't read girl, no matter how they dressed me. But of course, in 1965 Nebraska, it just didn't seem like there were options other than boy and girl. In fact, to me, in 2020 Massachusetts, in spite of being immersed in the queer community since the early 80s, I didn't get it. I bought the gender binary. In spite of having a transgender daughter of my own, I bought the gendered binary. I described myself as androgynous, as really gender bendy. I talked professionally about how I use that in my work as a hospice music therapist. But it took getting educated by Gen Z and then this total meltdown, this 3-month forging trip into the fire to clear enough internal space in me to make room for the truth that I just don't fit in those boxes. And I will never forget the moment that truth dropped in, that I could say no to the boxes. Was one of the most mind-blowing, life-altering, liberating, energizing experiences I have ever had sitting all by myself in a room. I will spend the rest of my life in this process that is gender, unpacking it, watching it change and grow and become. The process that is gender is amazing. There are so many lies out there about gender and about biological sex, actually. Whoever catches us when we're born glances at our genitals and then declares which box we're supposed to live in for the rest of our lives. Biological sex is way more complicated than that. It has to do with chromosomes, gonads, physiological hormones, reproductive anatomy, and external genitalia. And 1% to 2% of the population is intersex. Now, intersex and non-binary are different. Intersex is an umbrella term that describes bodies that fall outside of the male and female binary. So bodies, not identities. And there are lots of ways to be intersex. If you think about 1% to 2% of the population in the United States has red hair, and 1% to 2% of the population is intersex. So you're just as likely to have met someone who's intersex as you are to have met someone who has red hair. Regarding gender, there are infinite lies available. One of the big lies is that gender is constant, consistent, that it doesn't change. Certainly for cisgender people. Cisgender people are folks whose gender identity, right, matches the sex they were assigned at birth. So this idea that gender is fixed and not fluid is flawed. If you identify as a man, think for a minute about how your manhood manifests and presents now. If you're a little older, how is your expression of your manhood different now than it was in your 20s? How is it different than it was in your teens? Everybody has evolving gender. If you identify as a woman, what it means to be a woman has likely not been one thing across all your life and in all the circumstances. That doesn't mean you identify outside of the binary, but your gender identity isn't a fixed thing. We're morphing and changing all the time, growing and evolving and excavating and renovating. A writer named Lisa Daniels wrote a piece a few years ago called One Boomer's New Understanding of Gender Fluidity. And I'm going to share some excerpts with you. I never thought about my own gender identity until recently when I found myself completely enchanted with the character Taylor on Showtime's Billions. The first non-binary character on a major TV series. So Lisa Daniels, who wrote this, then describes having a little crush on this Taylor character on television. And she continues, "My little crush on Taylor is unusual. I'm a 61-year-old Jewish woman with a shoulder-length bob living on the Upper West Side of Manhattan. I consider myself straight, I'm happily married, I have a 24-year-old son, but I'm curious. So I look up Asia Kate Dillon, the actor who plays Taylor. And from their Twitter, I learned that their assigned sex is female and their gender identity is non-binary. I didn't really know what that meant. It means both. And I think, but of course, this isn't something new and exotic. We all have male and female aspects to our identity. The difference is that now the duality has an accurate, non-judgmental name. The pronouns that sound awkwardly plural to older ears now make sense. I'm pretty sure our soul consciousness isn't one-gendered. In conclusion, she writes, recently I was visiting a good friend in her 70s, a large earthy grandmother, and she surprised me by announcing that she thought she was gender fluid. She preferred men sexually, but also, she confided, she felt like she was one. She was often mistaken for a man and liked it. So I told her about my own non-binary inclination. We were two older adults having a new conversation. Gender is more fluid for us boomers thanks to the courage of younger generations. By living their identity, they have given us the language, the safety, and most of all, the freedom to know ourselves better. When I contacted Lisa Daniels asking for permission to quote her piece, she offered permission and also added this comment. In retrospect, one thing I got wrong is that non-binary doesn't mean both, as much as it means neither male nor female. Now, I appreciate her looking back and reflecting, and I think that neither of her descriptions works for me by itself. Non-binary is an umbrella term that describes anyone who does not identify as a man or a woman. It describes people who identify with gender outside of the binary or who don't identify with gender at all. Here's how I described it, my experience of it, in this little video that I made last summer. In talking with folks about describing my gender as non-binary, the metaphor that's working best for me right now is color. So asking if I identify as a man or as a woman is like asking, are you yellow or blue? And my response is, I'm green. So many shades of green. And some days that feels like both. And some days it feels like between. And some days it feels like neither. Genders are not limited. There's no official count, and you don't have to keep track of all the names of all the genders. Categorizing things into two boxes, two sides, simplifies them for us. It brings comfort and the reassurance of things being in order. The problem comes when we make the simplification into the reality, and then we choose that over what people are telling us is their actual experience of their actual lives. Remember, no one transitions to become less happy. Who do we want to be in relation to our fellow humans? Non-binary is an invitation to all of us to experience how big and deep and expansive the world can be. The world is changing, and the number of people identifying outside of woman and man is one of those obvious changes. And we owe it to each other to learn about it, to stay open to the fullness of reality, to stay curious, to ask. All the potential and all the possibility is right there. Who do we want to be as Unitarian Universalists, those of us who identify that way? What does our welcome feel like to non-binary folks? If you take a look at the report on the 2018 survey of trans UUs, the majority identified as non-binary. And only 44% said they felt spiritually connected and nourished in their congregation. 72% of trans UUs do not feel as though their congregation is completely inclusive of trans people. And over half of the non-binary folks said that they regularly experience marginalization in UU spaces. And marginalization was the top reason they left. Sometimes what we can do in starting to work with and continuing to work with these issues, because I don't know that I'm not done, I don't know about you, but we can watch how we tend to want to not believe. We can watch the parts of us that are really bothered when we see somebody or meet somebody whose gender isn't instantly legible to us. We can learn to smile and nod in understanding at those parts of ourselves that learned our lessons about the boxes, right? The parts of ourselves that are really comforted by categorizing. And the truth is, we can be uncomfortable. It's okay. We can do that. It doesn't mean we're unsafe automatically. We know how to make that distinction. In those moments of change, like I described from the spring, when we're forged anew, it is in part because we're kind of forced out of our human tendency to make things divided and orderly, good and bad. When we're out of the boxes, we are unavoidably messy. And we maybe are able to loosen our grip on perfectionism. We're maybe able to let go of the idea that we're fixed and singular and don't change. That we're one thing. Not just gender, but about all sorts of things. And maybe we're able to get curious about that for a moment. Why is the culture so attached to things staying as they are? Why so dedicated to the idea that we're one thing, even just with gender? Maybe because they've built a whole industry around convincing us that the thing we are, no matter what it is flawed. But, it's fixable. And wow, do we have so many products that we can sell you to fix you. If I know the truth of my fluidity, if I recognize that my emotions and thoughts and desires and maybe gender are all constantly changing and that they don't define me, that they aren't me, that they just flow through me, then I know that I'm not broken. And I don't need all their stuff to fix me. And that makes me a terrible consumer. When we know the truth of how we change, we also know that our worst moments, the time that we have caused the greatest harm to other people, also don't define us. Instead of simplifying things into good or bad, then we can get that we have to be accountable for what we say and do. We have to feel the impact of what we've done and be willing to change. When the iron ore of our rigidity endures the burning, it transforms, and our fluid selves can grow our capacity for love, can grow our capacity for compassion, for ourselves and for each other. Compassion is forged in the fires of accountability and change. The truth of how we change leads us directly into the capacity for non-binary thinking and starts to grow a whole more non-binary worldview that's available to us. Because understanding ourselves and the world around us as either one thing or another just isn't true, and it doesn't serve us well. So, what does non-binary thinking have to say about this moment? Working as a hospice music therapist full-time for 13 years now, I have seen how much better folks who can see themselves as many different things at the same time fare. How much better they do. Alive and dying. Anxious and moved and grateful and sad and loving, all side by side. And those of us who work there respond to everyone with as much exquisite care and respect as we can muster. A few weeks ago, I was singing for a patient who was a medical doctor. And I had spent a lot of time with him and his wife. I sang him to sleep on multiple occasions. So we were engaged in life review, and he started talking about leaving medicine. And I realized that he had left before the typical retirement age by a good chunk. So I asked him about that. And he said, "Yeah, I got out when they told me I had to use the wrong pronouns for a patient. I had to call her he for crying out loud. Well, I'd had enough." I said, "Sounds like you had a strong response to that situation." He said, "Of course I did." And then he asked me if I would play As Time Goes By, and then a lullaby, so that he could relax and go to sleep. Yeah, of course. Hospice patients are not red or blue. How might a discussion of the flag of the United States change through a non-binary filter? What does the flag mean to you at different times? What does the steadfastness of the United States mean? Does it bring comfort? Maybe symbolizing the survival of our democracy, if just barely? To whom does our stubborn endurance represent a constant threat? Can we feel our way into how the flag represents danger and freedom and liberty and oppression and justice and erasure, survival and genocide? What does non-binary thinking have to offer this moment? So this week, your spiritual homework, should you choose to accept it, is to pay attention to all the language you hear that props up the gender binary. Just hear it. The men and women of the armed forces. Ladies and gentlemen. Hear it in words, in songs. See it in images. Observe it in your thoughts. Just notice. So join me in this journey, sending love to the souls of all the people we meet. Stay in, stay open, stay curious. Amen. This is Will You Join Me on This Journey by my dear friend Judy Fiel. Will you join me on this journey that gives me strength to take your hand? The road is long, sometimes I'm weary. Will you take my hand? And we'll send love to the earth through the soles of our feet. We'll send love to the souls of all the people we meet on this journey. On this journey. And we'll help justice to roll on down to the sea, providing the waves so that all can be free on this journey. On this journey. Will you join me on this journey? I need to hear your voice. So many times I can't find the words. Will you sing to me in your lovely voice? And we'll send love to the earth through the soles of our feet. We'll send love to the souls of all the people we meet on this journey. On this journey. And we'll help justice to roll on down to the sea, providing the waves so that all can be free on this journey. On this journey. Will you join me on this journey? It lightens my heart to see you smile. Sometimes I am discouraged. Will you look my way and smile? And we'll send love to the earth through the soles of our feet. We'll send love to the souls of all the people we meet on this journey. On this journey. And we'll help justice to roll on down to the sea, providing the waves so that all can be free on this journey. On this journey. Join me on this journey. I want you there beside me. There are times I lose my way, but you, my friend, you will guide me. And we'll send love to the earth through the soles of our feet. We'll send love to the souls of all the people we meet on this journey. On this journey. And we'll help justice to roll on down to the sea, providing the waves so that all can be free on this journey. On this journey. We'll send love to the earth through the soles of our feet. We'll send love to the souls of all the people we meet on this journey. On this journey. And we'll help justice to roll on down to the sea, providing the waves so that all can be free on this journey.
on this journey.
And we'll end our service today with our very own Reverend Mr. Barb Grieve and his poem, Blessed.
Blessed are the trailblazers who brought us this far and are still trailblazing, still celebrating. Blessed are the drag queens and kings who remind us to not take life too seriously. Blessed are the gender benders, non-binary, gender fluid, and third gender folks, those who challenge us to reframe our gender paradigm. Blessed are the young ones who present fearlessly from the start. Blessed are their parents who make space for freedom and love their children fiercely. Blessed are the siblings and relatives who educate, support, and love us as we are. Blessed are the genderqueer youth, those who are fabulously flourishing, and those who struggle and persist. Blessed are the 90-year-olds just coming out, and those who have been out decades. Blessed are those whose lives were cut too short. May their stories live on through us. Blessed are the survivors. May they keep on living. Blessed are the allies learning to be accomplices. Blessed are those gathered here today, witnessing, learning, celebrating. May we all commit to continue showing up, fighting for justice, celebrating all the genders in life.
I invite you to extinguish the flames you have lit in your homes as we extinguish the flame of our chalice. As the flame goes out, let the smoke waft through the air for just a moment. I invite you also to type into the chat box, I carry the flame.